I got to follow that. Come on. Wow. Those of you, I forgot to tell you, this ain't your mama's church, okay? This is not, that's not usually, I never heard that in a Catholic Mass. I have to tell you, I think the nuns' little capes would have flown away, and I don't know. Anyway, good morning, everyone. You know, the last time I was up here talking, it was because the former president got shot. And now I get to talk. What a week we've had, huh? Right? What a week we've had. So, had a lot of news, huh? We live, a lot of us, on our phones and listening to the news and what's going on. And we have different perspectives based on what news we're listening to. Is that true, do you think? So, is it really true? That's what our theme is today. Is it really true? Do we know what we're hearing is true? And it causes things like this. It causes people to shoot at the president, to kill each other. Most of us in here, we've lived through a friggin' lot, right? I remember being in 7th grade when John F. Kennedy got shot. All right, we went through John F. Kennedy. We went through Martin Luther King being assassinated. We went through Robert Kennedy being killed. I mean, the list goes on. President Reagan got shot at, and why? Why? And so what we're all about here is not Republican, Democrat, Independent. We are here about love. And so I just finished this book study, Florence Scovel Shinn, and these are just a few things I want to remind you about. Instead of planning and scheming, allow infinite intelligence to solve problems in its own way. I was raised Catholic, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm very grateful for all faiths. But, I was taught that God was this being somewhere else. I am sitting in a room full of God. Each one of you has that divinity within you. And we don't want to use that divinity for anything but love. That's what we are here for. Even if you disagree with one side or the other, they need a lot of love. They need a lot of love, and that's how we should hold them. Blessing enemies disarms them. Their arrows transform into blessings. When we send out genuine love, it returns to us because love is powerful. And so that energy, the more of that energy that we have, remember when they did the peace song years ago when everybody at a certain time sang that song and held hands? That we need more of that. We need more of that. You leave here today and take out that love. We don't know. And when you do that, what you do is you turn it over to that divine power and you say, what is ever highest and best for our country, for the individuals, for the world? I have faith that that is what's going to come about. And you listen to your heart. What is guiding you during this time? Let's not live in fear or anger. So today, I have this on all my emails that I send out, and I love this. Today, something is happening to the whole structure of human consciousness. A fresh kind of life is starting, driven by the forces of love. The fragments of the world are seeking each other so that the world may come into being. Let's vision that this is the wars and battles that are going over in the Middle East and in Ukraine. Let's send that love. We're pretty good at sending bombs, But what about sending some love? Let's do that more. And we think, oh, Dr. Laura, you're a Pollyanna. Da, da, da. Yes, but all you need are people that are in that power to start going, are we doing this correctly? Is there a better way of doing this? And listen to that. We are all being divinely guided. And when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. I saw that. I just thought that was beautiful because that's what we want. Let's be that peace in the world. Let's be that power. That's not that we go around. We go around like this, and we look it in the eyes, and we see the divine in each person that we come into contact with. That's power. The world is waking up from a deep sleep into a new reality where love, compassion, and respect for all life takes center stage. That's where we are. That's where we want to be all the time. And we owe it to these little guys, our grandchildren, our children. What kind of a world do we want them to see? Peace is not when everyone agrees. It is when we can respect our disagreements and still play in the sandbox together. That's what children do. They don't always agree when they're playing. That's my toy. No, and then 2 minutes later, they're loving on each other. That's what we need. We need to be able to play in the sandbox together, have disagreements, but then talk about them. You know, that's one of the things I love about our ministry here. It's Dr. Dale, Reverend William, myself, and Elizabeth. We meet constantly. Okay, I've got this idea. What do you think? You know, but then we go, yeah, that is a good idea. We talk about it. It's so wonderful to have this group here. I am so blessed. Would not want to be up here by myself every week. We have a great team. We've got our boss in the other room who runs this place. She takes good care of us, Elizabeth, and we love you, Elizabeth, if you're watching. And you know what? We talk it out. And it's wonderful when you have that, and when you don't always have to be the right one. You know, we talk it out, and that's why we love this center. That's why we love you. That's why we are here. So, is it true? Part 2, which is Reverend William.
Excellent. So then I guess I'll just hold the mic. That's wonderful. Is it really true? Part 2. Part do.
Do.
Is it really true? Now we get to see what I talk about, which is always fun. What do you think? Is it really true? It's wonderful that Dr. Laura was talking about, well, at least from my perspective, it was a lot of externalized influences on how and what we do and react. I'm going more internal about this. What do you think? You're right. Whatever it is that you think about yourself, the positive and the negative is all true. It's the belief system. That's what we're talking about here. How do we change global consciousness? It starts right here. It starts right here, inside of each and every one of us. Don't wait for the world to change if you're not ready to change yourself. So what's your buy-in? What are you bringing to the table? What do you think is the truth about your life? Is it something that you were told as a child? I mean, we're getting Freudian here all the time. It's, oh, we got to sit on the couch, lay on the couch, oh, tell me about your childhood. But that's where the belief system starts, isn't it? I know for me it kind of did. Now, sometimes I bought into what was being told to me. Other times I was smart enough to keep my trap shut. But I was going, no, that's not who I am. But how often were you able to do that as a 7-year-old, as a 10-year-old? How often were you able to do that as a 15-year-old with your clique at high school? How often were you somebody in front of the neighborhood and you were different inside your very own home? We're teaching you to be yourself, whether you're in a room by yourself or you're out in public. That divine nature, that divine energy that each and every one of us are, is what this world needs. Because when you can love yourself, the world changes. Have the courage to live your own life without using someone else's. That's what we're talking about here all the time. Your belief system. What do you believe about yourself? There's an awful lot of people here, especially, and I'm going to pick on the back row a little bit because you know what? When I first came here, I was in that back row. When they used to give out carnations, when, oh, your first time here, not just a little welcome song. We used to give out little carnations. Hell no, I'm not standing up for that. But I found myself that as I started coming here, what was being taught here, what was being preached here, what was being talked about here on Sundays made more and more sense to me. So each week, I kept creeping up, getting closer and closer. And so now I'm finally in the front row. Trust your struggle. Every single one of us has a story to tell. It's not better, it's not worse. It's just your story. What we're teaching here is to take that story, take that struggle, and instead of sitting home crying yourself to sleep, use that to say, how can I be better than what I was treated as? That's how we change this world. When you can see how you were treated wrongly and take that as a teaching moment, and so you go forth and make sure that you do the exact opposite to someone else, that you give them love, you give them compassion, you give them understanding. When you can do that, the world with Dr. Laura will change. Cue ball and the earth. Here's some fun facts. And you're thinking, okay, how's he going to work this in? Anybody play pool out here? Just nice. Those cue balls and pool balls are very smooth. Wouldn't you say? Give me your hands up. Yes, they are extremely smooth. Here's a funny fact. Here we are on planet Earth, and you have people climbing up to Mount Everest. You have people going down into the Marianas Trench. And that's very diverse in altitude or elevation. Planet Earth is very rough and rugged, wouldn't you say? But if you were to shrink planet Earth to the size of a cue ball, did you know that planet Earth is smoother than the surface of a cue ball? That's perspective. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is your perspective on your life. Is it really as good as you think it is? Is it really as bad as you think it is? Your life is smooth. The highs, the lows, they're just experiences. Why? Because we need experiences so that we have the tools in our tool belt to be helpful, to be that love and compassion to someone else. So please, bring that pain, that misunderstanding that you had as a child, not to be wallowing in it like a pig in a trough, but to use it to uplift yourself, to uplift that level of love that's always been inside of us. Use your life to be that love that you did not have, or maybe wish you had more of. We are getting more in touch with the planet, it seems like. We have solar, we have e-bikes, we have e-cars, getting away from fossil fuels and eating vegan, and there's all these new diets that we're all trying to make ourselves better. I mean, it's nonstop. There's much as that as there is news. Reduce the carbon footprint of your mind and start using your emotion. When you start living from your emotion and start coming from that energy, that vibration of love. Reverend David, what is the frequency of the heart? Is it 492? 528? When you can come and live in that vibration of your heart, 528. That's foreign language to me. I don't understand it, but I understand the concept. Coming from here, not the reaction of what's happening outside in this world. Because when I live from that, all my life is nothing but a secondary causation, meaning I'm living from the effects of life. We're teaching you to live from first cause, Spirit, God. That's it. That's the true power. When you realize that your life is nothing short than the perfection of life expressing for its own experience. That's when you can drop all this mundane, everyday, what am I going to wear today stuff, and really start being the human being, not the human doing. So at the beginning of the talk, you saw what's your buy-in. It's funny because one of my jobs was a dealer at a casino, and so I resonate with this. Cashing out. What are you leaving here with? You came in with emotions and baggage. But what are you taking home? When you leave this place, what are you taking with you? Take that love, that compassion, that understanding. Take those bad hits, those bad deals that you had at the card tables, and use them and transform them into something better that you can use outside the casino and use in the real world. Be the dealer of love. And that ends my talk. So buckle up, Buttercup, and enjoy the ride.
Oh, wow, I got to follow all that. Whew. So it's interesting that Reverend William was talking about childhood. And by the way, we all created our talks in our own way. We didn't come together and discuss it. And it's really cool how we go to different places, yet there's a central theme. So as I was reflecting on our theme, a childhood memory arose in my mind that I was just thinking about. And many of you know that I had an older sister, I still have an older sister, who continually tormented me because I was born. So I have a lot of stories about that. And this week, I was recalling a story in which I was probably around 5 or 6, and she always had this way about her, and I just didn't smarten up till way too late. But she said, "Do you want to play a really fun game?" And of course I said, "Yes, of course." She said, "Well, let's play a game called Eskimo Baby." And I thought, wow, that sounds cool. Anything with baby was good with me because I loved being the baby of the family, so I was all in. And so we had this sleeping bag. You know, I grew up in Studio City where it's hot. And we had this sleeping bag that's like for when you go to the Arctic. It had like this thing where it tied up and just your face showed through. And so she put me in the sleeping bag, and she pulled that tie really tight. And there was like this teeny little place where I could barely see out. And she knotted it up, and then she started pushing me around the bedroom going, Eskimo baby, Eskimo baby. And I was just going, at first it was fun, and then it wasn't. And I started going, let me out of this, let me out of this. And I hear my mother coming. And you're all probably thinking, oh, that's a good thing, because your mother probably came to rescue you. That is not how things went down in the Olansky household. When there was an issue with me and my sister, both of us were in trouble. This was no exception. So my mom comes barreling in there and says, what's going on here? And she's untying the knot and letting me out of there. And then my mom says to me, haven't I taught you to stop believing in what your sister tells you? And I was like, well, it sounded so fun. My mom said, no. My mother did not believe in victimhood. And one of her jobs was to teach her and my sister about taking responsibility for any situation that you find yourself in. So it was that time where I had to take responsibility yet again for being gullible to my sister's directions and invitations. But you know what? I still continued to fall for it. But it's really important what I learned there, because I learned early on that I play a role in anything that I get myself into, because I fall victim to beliefs that I need to question. Now today I wanted to talk about Byron Katie. I'm going to have a lot of quotes by her, because she is somebody who taught us to question our beliefs, because our beliefs are what get us in trouble, like Reverend William was saying. And she had these things called 4 liberating questions. I'm only talking about 2. Is it true, or can you absolutely know that it is true? These are 2 questions I believe we should be asking ourselves continually. Dr. Laura brought up at the beginning of her talk about how we're just inundated with opinions and stories and viewpoints that are all over the place. And sometimes we say, oh, that works, that doesn't. We're busy connecting with those that mean something to us and those that don't. But are any of them true? And so it's important for us to follow what Byron Katie is suggesting we ask ourselves. Is it true? Can you absolutely know that it is true? I've come to believe that I really don't think anything can be true unless I have witnessed it firsthand, and even that's questionable, because we are our own, we're subjective. Really, we are. There's nothing that's really absolute, except in my belief, is God. So we got to question everything. We have to question everything that we're being fed in the media, that friends are telling us. We got to question our thoughts. It is so important for us to awaken to the information, as Reverend William said, that we're buying into. Because if we don't question it, we could be going down a stream of thought and belief that isn't in our best interests. And I believe that the best beliefs to have are those that are life-affirming. I don't think you can go wrong with those. But there are a lot of beliefs that we're swimming in right now that are gloom and doom. And a lot of us are buying into it. And when we buy into it, we're giving energy to it. And if we're giving energy to it, it's going to happen. And that's why it's so important for us to question everything and to be open and receptive to maybe it's not true. So Byron Katie says this: there is nothing that isn't true if you believe it, and nothing is true, believe it or not. Now this is unsettling, isn't it? It really is. It's disorienting, because our beliefs ground us. They give us this kind of compass to navigate in this world. But Byron Katie is telling us nothing is true. Nothing is true. It's all story. It's all just filler information that's designed to fill our heads up with certainty so that we feel safe in this world. And what we teach here is that the place to find safety is here. The place to find safety is in your spirituality. Whatever you want to call God, your higher power, that is where you find your safety. And that's why it is so important for us in this time to relax. I know it's hard, and I have a lot of nerve coming up here and saying, we just need to relax. But honestly, The way that we're wired as people, if we are uptight and nervous and anxious, then good things do not happen because we are not thinking with a calmness. We're thinking from that part of our mind that's about survival and fear. And that's not a problem-solving place. It's not a creative place. It is not a life-affirming place. So this is why we got to take a step back and stop being so attached to these beliefs. We can hold lightly to them, we can entertain them, but it's that attachment, that this is right and that's wrong, that gets us into trouble. You must always be willing to truly consider evidence that contradicts your beliefs, and I know this is hard, and admit that you may be wrong. I don't like being wrong ever. But I have come to the place where I need to be okay with it because I can get caught up in beliefs and say, so-and-so said that, it was on the news, I read it there, it's everywhere, it's got to be true, but it might not be. And that's actually a very liberating place. Because if you think about it, when you are wrong, and you can get over the ego bruising of it, it opens us up to consider maybe there's another possibility. Maybe there's another belief that I haven't even entertained because I am being so rigid right now and in such a place where I need to believe that's true that I can't open the door to something else. I read a quote recently that said to open the heart so you can entertain the unimaginable. Entertaining the unimaginable. We do not like not knowing what's happening next and happening next. We like to be in that state of certainty of next step, next step. But you know what? It's time to break open that certainty and allow the unimaginable to come through. Because when we come from a place of love and joyful expectancy of what's possible that's really high and amazing, that comes through. So we can let down these beliefs that hold us in that place, like that sleeping bag I was in. I mean, I told that story purposely because it's a metaphor. Because these beliefs lock us in to a place where we have no freedom. Because we believe this belief is true and we're going to die by it. We got to open up that sleeping bag and let ourselves out and breathe and see what's possible. So it's all about this being comfortable in uncertainty. And that's where spiritual practice comes in very handy. Because when we do our prayer work, when we come to a place of interconnectivity of life in our minds and hearts and see it, know it, and feel it, and pray it up, then we are opening our energy field to something magnificent that is beyond what the consensus of negative belief might be dishing out to us. Ernest Holmes says we are bound by nothing except belief. That's it. Belief. That's what binds us. And so if we want to free ourselves, we've got to believe in something bigger and better for ourselves and for our world. Byron Katie says, if I can teach you anything, it is to identify the stressful thoughts that you're believing and to question them, to get still enough so that you can hear your own answers. Stress is the gift that alerts you to your asleepness. And I believe stress just puts us right to sleep and into fear. And these are the moments where we question if things are true or not. That stress isn't something for you to sit in and get freaked out about and panic. It's your alarm to say, whoa, stop. Maybe that's not true. And come to the place of heart because you know what? Your heart knows everything. We teach that here every week. Awakening, what is it? Awakening people one heart at a time. We awaken you to the wisdom of your heart. We're so up here, and belief is so up here. And that's great. Belief is fine for a while, but really true eternal wisdom that dwells here is available to all of us. We are not kept out of that. We just need to open up and let it in. And if that is what stress can open you up to, then listen to your heart. Calm yourself down and see what's possible for you. It's funny, Dr. Laura and I put kids on two of our slides. We did, like I said, we didn't talk about it. It's interesting because kids are great teachers to us. As Dr. Laura said, they don't come all piled up with baggage and discrimination and hatred. They come with love. They want to connect. They want to be having fun. They want to be playing. They don't want to be doing this adult stuff that we do. And so this is just something I wrote. If we all truly loved ourselves and recognized that every being is a divine expression of the one, the war of beliefs would be over. Because beliefs sometimes create a fortress for us. We weaponize our beliefs. They become something that we hold onto and pull ourselves into this ground of being right all the time. And you're wrong. Totally a place of no compassion, hate, anger. Just not a good place when we use our beliefs against each other, because we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere, right? So we got to take the beliefs down by knowing what we teach here, that we are all one. Different beliefs, sure. Different upbringing, sure. Different experiences, absolutely. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we are all one because we are all spiritual beings having this experience here on planet Earth. So when we know that, when we can start believing in that deeply, 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 you got to go deep with this. But when we deeply believe that, we can't hate. There is no room for hate. Because if I'm seeing everybody as an expression of the divine, my heart's going to have compassion. I'm going to listen. I'm going to have understanding for people who do things that might be harmful to others. I'm going to come with love. I'm going to come with an inclusive energy and a helpfulness. So the belief wars just cannot stay in place when we know who we are. And that is for us to lean into and understand at the heart level. And this is really our biggest teach here, because when you know who you are, you can't help but love. My last slide is this. Peace doesn't require two people. It requires only one. It has to be you. The problem begins and ends there. And Reverend Williams spoke to this. It's an inside job piece. We might like to look outside and blame this country for warring, that country for warring, the stuff here that's in disagreement. But honestly, it starts here. Peace begins with me, as the song says. And so that's where our work is. We've got to look inside of ourselves, look at our beliefs, see what we're pulling into, what we're buying into that isn't life-affirming. And believe in something else. Believe in what's possible. Believe in the potential for humanity to come together as one in love. Because you know what? It's possible. If a person believes it's possible, it's possible. And there's a room full of people here in the room, those online, that I know it's not just me that thinks that possible. So question your beliefs all the time. Question information that's coming into you all the time. And start listening to what knows best, your heart. Thank you.